Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some very interesting things to go and talk about over here when it comes to the God of War Ragnarok. Now, you guys are probably going to get sick of me talking about it throughout these next few days, but as you guys know, we've had a lot of early access and people having a chance to fully review and kind of go over everything with God of War Ragnarok. But one really big thing to note is that the PlayStation 4, somehow, some way, I have no idea how, the wizards over here at Sony and, Sony Santa Monica somehow made this happen where you can still run and play the game on the PS4. Now, a lot of folks are kind of curious though, is it worth it? Should I go wait for the PS5? Is the graphics good and all that? And so far, it's kind of working a little bit, but at the same time, it is definitely pushing the PS4 to the extremes. We're going to talk about this. We have some pretty cool Kotaku news that has had like a pretty big hands-on if it's good, bad, or ugly. So let's go and talk about this in the PS4. Now, as well, I also want to know before we dive in the video, are you guys finally up on the PlayStation 5? I know a lot of my channels focus on the PlayStation 5 restocks and all that, but as well as someone maybe still on the PS4. Maybe you guys can't find the PS5, maybe you just don't want to get it yet. Are you guys going to be playing the game on PS4? I would actually love to know, so leave a comment down below. And as well, if you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed. We have a $500 giveaway and a PS5 giveaway too, so you guys want to be in that. Twitter and Twitch room down below for bonus entries, and of course the Amazon, Weeble, Target links and all that down below, and let's dive into the video. So very first impression so far is that God of War Ragnarok is, not exaggerating, like a 10 out of 10 game. A phenomenal game with really good, well, everything. In terms of the graphics, in terms of loading time, in terms of the story, in terms of everything, on the PS5, God of War Ragnarok is apparently fantastic. But the real question is, how is it on the PS4? And now, thankfully, but also unthankfully, it's like, not bad. That's kind of like the big words we keep on getting over here, where God of War Ragnarok is apparently running fine. Like, thank God, like running fine, going smooth. Somehow the wizards at Sony have made it even possible to run this game on a PS4. Now, the PS4 baseline tech is not that outdated or that bad, but it definitely kind of seems like, well, at the end of the day, it's running basically like a jet engine. So if some folks are saying that this is probably one of the loudest and probably the most, I guess, like, needing to use every single resource game that the PS4 has to offer. And at the end of the day, this actually might be one of the last really big Sony games that comes out on the PS4, because none other as of this moment are kind of announced, at least in terms of the level of God of War Ragnarok. But people are saying, thank God, it's actually running fine and working fine. But it does also seem like your console is going to sound like a jet engine as you're doing that. So we have people like Kotaku that finally had a chance to play on the PS4, and now I'd be kind of sad being the guy that works at Kotaku making these reviews, and I'm stuck on the PS4 when everyone else and my coworkers are probably doing reviews in the PS5 version. So not to make you feel old or anything over here, but the PS4 is nearly a decade old, and that's why I'm surprised that they can somehow even still make God of War Ragnarok run on this, in all honesty, kind of old device. So while the PS4 might be nearing the end of its life, Sony isn't done with it yet. And that's kind of nice because some folks watching might actually still be on the PS4. So with the God of War Ragnarok launching on both the PS4 and PS5 on November 9th, they want to actually go poke the epic game on Sony's last-gen console, which is nice. I kind of feel like a lot of this information is important to know, and folks that have a PS4, there's quite a few of you. So here's the good news. Thankfully, it runs fine. So if you guys are skeptical on the whole process of it, we saw a few other reports too as well discuss this, that the game console is somehow making its way work. Like, it's somehow working. I'm still surprised, but it's working. So they did go prepared to get some earplugs, though, because they're saying that the PS4 is literally screaming. It's loud. It's insanely loud, like a jet engine as they're playing. So God of War Ragnarok is Sony's latest blockbuster exclusive and is a follow-up of 2018's God of War, and they also had a lot of folks that reviewed it so far and they really liked it. So basically it handled like a Taurus and Kratos' father-son adventures and was just wonderful, and the combat was slick, fun, and even on the PS4 satisfying. And while it plays great on the PS5, there are far more people out there still gaming in the baseline PS4. So basically they dug out their old PS4 that they bought in the day, and they cleared out the dust and hooked up their TV to see how it goes. So sadly, God of War does not support cross saves, which I think is fine at the end of the day. So they had to start over again, but they did let you go directly compare on how each console handled God of War's opening hours. So basically, he said on how good the PS4 is actually running the game still, and they said it looked fairly sharp, didn't look too muddy, and it's only running at 1080p. But it's clear that the devs took the time to make everything still sharp and readable, even if it's at a lower resolution, and probably, like, maybe a little bit more hiccups, longer loading times, and all of that. So the big difference between this version of the PS5 port is that they basically have it locked at 30 FPS. But at the same time, I'd rather have the option to play the game at 30 FPS and, maybe be a little bit less on the resolution side than not being able to go do it in the first place, which at the end of the day, I think it's fine. Now, I don't know. It's kind of like, I'm one of those folks that, like, if I had no other options and didn't have a chance to drop $600 on a PS5 and God of War, I'll take it. Like, I'll gladly take it. So mostly it says this mostly sticks to the frame rate, though during larger fights with a lot of effects and motions, they did notice at least some drops. So it's not unplayable, but it's not going to be like the perfect standard that they're expecting. So it never became unplayable, and some good motion blur also does help things make it look fairly smooth. So basically they had a big comparison over here for God of War on basically over here for IGN, and I kind of want to showcase up some of this as it loads and kind of maybe showcase some of the screenshots, because this is a PS4. Like, that looks phenomenal. But you could definitely kind of go and tell the big differences. Maybe I'll try to get that nice little screenshot, like, right in the middle here, where you can kind of see how there's a lot more, like, facial definition in terms of, like, indents on the eyes and stuff. While on the PS4, it definitely seems a little bit more, I guess, it kind of just more smooth out. Still looks good, though, at the end of the day. Still looks overall very, very good. But you can kind of go and tell there's the finer details in the actual, like, cloth itself over here. The outfit has a lot more details, too, as well. And, like, it does look a lot nicer on the PS5. But to the point where if I was stuck playing the PS4 version, I don't think I'd really feel that bad. I guess we also kind of go see the difference, too. It does seem like a little bit more slightly on the blurry side, as we've mentioned. Like, you can kind of go and see, like, even if you look at the deck textures and details and shadows, it looks slightly nicer over here, in terms of, like, the performance. This is, like, comparing the PS5s, though. But it does look slightly more, more smoother in this one. Looks slightly nicer, slightly better, I guess. But I'm more of, like, a frame rate kind of guy. But in terms of higher resolution, you guys can kind of see it looks just more smoother that way. I probably put bad wordings on that one, so my apologies on this one. So I guess I kind of compare the PS4 Pro to the PS4 Pro over here in terms of their graphic options, which, as you guys can kind of tell, there's a little bit more micro skipping over here. Maybe a little bit more above, in terms of, like, just stuff. Like, I'm just kind of seeing micro skipping compared to, like, the PS5 version, a little bit less smooth, and obviously the resolution. Like, you can kind of tell it's a little bit on the lower frame rate, too, as well. So, it's kind of cool to kind of just see the difference. Like, it's noticeable enough. Like, I think that run right there, I think, is a big one. You can kind of see the difference between the details in the PS5 and then that. Like, I think that's actually a perfect description, where it looks a lot more cleaner, a lot more effects, and then this looks just a little bit more on the blurrier side. I think that's probably one of the best ones we've seen so far in the comparison. So, it still looks good. But I'm a big frame rate guy, I'm a PC guy, so you can kind of go and tell the frame rate and the kind of the blurriness is still there. But it still looks close enough. Like, it still works. Like, in my mind, I would say it's worth playing and worth utilizing. I don't mind. I think it overall looks pretty good. So I want to hear your thoughts on this too as well. Now, as we kind of went through all this, they have a few other big critiques and all that stuff, where they're basically just saying the only big major negative, besides like a little bit of the blurriness, which I would say it's still seems good, like it's not bad, and probably like the overall PS4 having to run on its last legs to make it work, it just doesn't seem that bad, but the loading times are. Now, it does seem like the loading times without the SSD and general old hard drive and older tech, it might take quite some time, and that's just a little bit on the rougher side too. They're literally saying this is the loudest game they've ever played so far on the PS4. They even had to literally turn up their TV just to cover up all the noise it was making, and even just hanging out the main menu caused the PS4 to basically running on its last legs, which is ridiculous. So at the end of the day, at least it is going good. Like, the whole PS4 process is looking nice, and they also did go and say too as well that they played the game for over 35 hours on the PS5, and they were even worried about how it would feel going back a generation. Like, would it be too noticeable? Would it basically make like the whole experience rough? Like, would it be like going to Fortnite on like a PC to the Xbox Series S? And, well, thankfully so far, they said it was a little rough at the start to get used to that 30% frame rate too, and readjusting the combat from the muscle memory, maybe just from all the flow on that too. But after around 20 minutes, they were all adjusted, their eyes and hands adjusted to the 30 FPS gameplay, and soon they had pretty much no major issues with it. But then once again, they kind of then reinstalled it and re-pushed it up on the PS5 and had a big comparison on the graphics and what they saw, and once again, they were kind of blown away. So it does kind of seem like if you want the optimal experience, kind of you want to play it on the PS5. You want to have, like, see those finer tree details, the snow details, like, the actual outfits or animations, and especially loading times, which I think for more of an open world and kind of bigger game like God of War and those epic boss fights, I want that 60 FPS, I want that better resolution, and I want to make it good. But if you guys are still stuck on the PS4, or you guys just haven't found a PlayStation 5, you should probably subscribe, obviously. But as well, at the end of the day, it seems like not too bad. Like, I think it seems all right. It seems like we're still making progress, and it seems like at the end of the day, it's still worth buying on the PS4. So all the good initial reviews on both PS4 and PS5 have been great. And I just got to give the developers a lot of claps over here at Sony for even somehow making this happen. I can't believe that this is even a thing that they could pull it off in this old hardware. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. And as well, let me know if you guys will be buying this game on PS5 or PS4 itself. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. We have the Amazon links down below, the Twitter and Twitch streams down below, and of course, all the other Target links, every other links too as well. And let me know if you guys are going to buy God of War.